11 matches across USL Championship today, and it all kicks off in Northern Virginia as Loudoun United hosts Birmingham Legion FC from Segra Field in Leesburg. Alongside MLS veteran Jamie Watson, I'm Joe Malfa. Delighted to have you with us tonight on ESPN+. It's very early in this season, Jamie, to be looking at the standings, but here in mid-April is where you set the table for the summer.
Absolutely right, Joe. And for Loudoun, they're in the midst of 4 out of 5 at home. And to start that stretch off, they are 0-2-1. They're going to have a difficult schedule at the back end of the season, so they need to be collecting points now. And for Birmingham, they were at the top of the Eastern Conference heading into Wednesday night before Charleston's dramatic victory at Tampa. They're looking to continue to put points in the back pocket after being able to fall from that top spot, but then also dropping a result at home against Phoenix last week.
Today's players to watch are presented by Betfred. It's got to be Zach Ryan on the Loudoun United side, returning from a 2-game absence. He's been terrific when he's been out there.
He really has. Look at his teammate at the bottom, Tommy Williamson, already celebrating before he lets it go. It's the movement off the back shoulder, and then when he gets into the spot, it's a little peek up, assess the situation, drives it to the back post. He's a clinical finisher when he gets the opportunity. He's got 3 goals and an assist on the season, and he's the X factor for Loudoun. And then at the other side, well, they also have a player up top that's got 3 goals and assists. You look at Nico Brett, and what separates him? His ability to get lost in the box. These 2 goals that he scored against Tampa pushed him into a tie for 5th all-time in the USL Championship. A prolific goal scorer who has the ability to get lost in between the 2 center backs and then make the right decision when he's in the box, whether to go with his head, the inside of the foot, or just pass it into the corner, as we saw here for the 2nd goal against Tampa.
Sounds as simple as get the ball to Zach Ryan and Nico Brett. This sport is never that simple, so tonight's keys to the game are brought to you by Country Buick GMC of Leesburg.
It's never that simple. For Loudoun, the simplicity may be in the counterattacks today. Be able to be tight defensively. When you get your opportunities, break out as quickly as you can. Try to get more numbers forward. And for Birmingham, they've only scored 1 goal inside of the first 20 minutes this season. They need to get off to an early start, especially on the road. That will be their key to getting 3 points today.
Birmingham has asserted itself as one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. Loudoun United, new look team from last year. They want to crack that top 8 and make the playoffs. You set the table here in April. It's Loudoun and Birmingham coming up next.
Business today is fast, unpredictable, always changing. Shifting trends and technologies are pushing aside old rules. The unexpected is the new normal. Segra is here to help you get what's next with our best-in-class connectivity, cybersecurity, cloud, and collaboration solutions. Whatever your business dreams, we have the network and services to get you there. Segra, giving your business the freedom to grow today. Segra is a proud sponsor of the Loudoun United Football Club.
Players have made their way out onto the field here at Segra Field, where Loudoun United FC and Birmingham Legion FC are set to do battle. Here in the early going still of the USL Championship season with Jamie Watson. I'm Joe Malfa. We'll take a look now at the starting 11s for both sides, beginning with Ryan Martin's Loudoun side.
Well, and when you look at this side in the 4-2-3-1 shape, it allows for there to be some movement from Samake and Santos. If they can get higher up the field, that'll equal some success for Loudoun. They can start to play higher up the field, be able to get their opportunities when they present themselves.
On the other side for Birmingham Legion, there's some tweaks that we need to decipher here for this team.
Sure. So last week, Alves was playing left back. He now goes to the right wing. Kasim will come in for Enzo Martinez as well. Juan Agudelo, the former U.S. men's national team, has the capability of going and joining Brett into the attack, and that gives Mensah some more space. He's in that left back role today to try to join into the attack from deeper positions.
I think anybody who has watched this team so far this year, that's the one that would have caught their eye seeing left back Gabriel Alves, who was a star at left back at his time at Marshall, all of a sudden playing on the right wing, and that's a testament to the versatility they believe they have in the young Gabriel Alves, 24 years of age, here in his first USL Championship season. It's Loudoun in the white and red from left to right. Birmingham in the black with gold trim from right to left. Your referee in the blue is Luis Arroyo. And we are underway here in Leesburg. All about starting quick for you for this Birmingham side. They have left some games in the balance late. They've still won them late. And a win is a win at the end of the day, but that is one area where they would like to get things done a little bit quicker and ease some tensions on the heart and the minds late in games. Mensah gets it into Agudelo. On the turn, Kasim all the way back for the young Matthew Corcoran, the 17-year-old making his 17th appearance here in USL today. Koa Santos back with it. Diagonal from Yanis Learman. Nobody in particular, taken away by Colin Smith. One of the three young loanees who have been here with this Birmingham side since the beginning of the season. He's the one who plays the most regularly, Colin Smith. And it's just part of the relationship that they had with FC Dallas. Eric Avila, who we had a chance to speak with this week, standing in for our weekly head coach chat for Tom Solon, had some personal matters he was dealing with, but he's in the technical area coaching today for Birmingham. But Eric Avila credited just the relationships he's made in his past with FC Dallas. For that loan, Ben Ravino coming over from New England Revolution, and the relationship with Tom Solon. Played ahead by Santos, early chances saved by Spangenberg. Talked about Birmingham scoring quickly and starting it off on the right foot. It was nearly Loudoun who did so.
Well, and that's the counterattack that we said to watch out for in the opening of today's proceedings, because when Loudoun are able to win it, as Armenikis picks this off, he immediately feeds it to Santos. No doubt about it, whips it in first time, and it's a really, really good opportunity for Loudoun. Special save from Spangenberg to start things off.
Nice to have a veteran goalkeeper like that in behind Van Oekel. Spangenberg, 31, has been around the block. Some time in MLS with Chivas and New England. From the corner, headed away by Cronelli, and further along by Nico Brett. Hugo Farreau out to Yasu Samake. Still a very young Loudoun side, but not as young as it was at times last year, where they would be liable to run out a few teenagers on a given day. And that's what makes head coach Ryan Martin believe this team is a lot further along at this juncture than last year's team was. Asked him, how far away are you from reaching that max potential? He put it right now at 50 to 55% of the way there. And he said, to be honest with you guys, last year at this point, I would have said 10, 12%. It's just a testament to the young, hungry professionals they brought in this year who are cast-offs for whatever reason from MLS sides, who have that chip on their shoulder. Yes, they're still in that 20 to 24-year-old age range and still young by this league standards, but it's different than last year when they were running out 15, 16, 17-year-olds on a weekly basis. And free kick on the way here for Loudoun.
Well, that very easily could have been a booking. But when you talk about Ryan Martin, to that point, there are very few coaches that have done more with less than Ryan Martin, the head coach of the Loudoun United FC. Handcuffed at times with some decisions last year with players that he would go to bed one night before a game thinking, maybe I'll play this lineup, and then he'd wake up to a text, or wake up in the middle of the night to a text going, never mind, you're going to play these players and this player and this player. And to his testament as a young coach, he was able to adapt, get the group to rally and go. Obviously, the year didn't go the way they wanted to, but this is a manager that really can adapt to any type of adversity and settings. He's facing that early in his managerial career. It's only going to do him wonders as he continues on.
El Medcar give and go down the wing. They brought him over from FC Dallas and North Texas Soccer Club. Spent most of his time last year on the bench for FC Dallas after excelling in USL League One with North Texas. So back under the USL umbrella this year, Khalil El Medcar. Started all 5 matches now so far for Loudoun. Moses Mensah, first-year player out of Campbell University, sends it long. Nico Brett, good hold-up play. Shields off Learman, now to Agudelo.
That's just the wrong decision from Brett in that moment. Agudelo's done really well to get around him. And it's actually taking the defender back off Nico Brett, so he's got a little bit more space now to survey the scene. And then it's like he went back to that original thought that he had in his mind first before the defender pulled off. Could have been a decision where he starts to just keep possession or plays it to Agudelo's feet instead of trying to lead him and have that carry over the touchline.
Missing Tyler Pasher today. Very excited about what this attack could be when it's at full potential with everybody healthy here, Birmingham. Sent long through to Wesley Leggett. He goes down. They want a penalty shout. Luis Arroyo says play on.
I think Leggett's looking for one there. Kavita just does enough to throw him off balance. Agree with the decision, though, to not go for a penalty in that moment or even a foul if it was outside the box.
Leggett, the only change to the 11 from the side that won the Open Cup match against North Carolina FC. Came in off the bench, scored the winning goal as Agudelo spins through, and not the right pass there to Brett. He had Mensah screaming down the left side.
He did the hard part of taking the first touch inside and getting beyond the defender. Then he goes for the spectacular with the spin move and loses possession. Agudelo's a good enough player. He'd expect better from himself in that moment.
Hard to believe he's 30 years old now. Feels like he's been around forever, and he has, in a way. Going back to his teenage days at New York Red Bull. Look out here for Rowe touching it into the danger, but clearing it. Here's Leggett. Has Zach Ryan down the middle for support. Takes it to the end line, sends it toward Ryan, but Cronali is there near his old stomping grounds. Alex Cronali, star at the University of Maryland. It's just about a couple dozen miles up the road. Here's Leggett, shielding in the corner. Alves trying to whack at it with Colin Smith. And they play out of the pressure all the way back for Bryce Washington. Looking for Samake, now through. Samake, end line, cuts it back, has options, lays it off, and El Medcar sends it 2 counties over.
Really good job from Samake. We asked if in the open, can he be a little bit higher up the field? Could that lead to more opportunities? And this one, he times his run really, really well. It's a poor line, it has to be said, from Birmingham to just drop back, but Samake got to the inline, and as the second started to go and the touches started to accumulate, that's when the angle closed down.
Here's Agudelo. Still a bit off-putting and odd to see him on the left wing and dropping deep where he's mainly been the focal point, at least going back to last year for Birmingham. And chatting with Eric Avila, called him one of the best hold-up players in all of USL Championship. But when you have the wealth of riches they do in terms of the attack, having Nico Brett out there, it's sort of a necessary evil to allow Brett to do his thing. You move Agudelo out wider.
Yeah, it's difficult to keep Nico Brett out of the starting lineup, so then you start to think, where can Agudelo be more useful as well in combination? And left mid is where he's been tasked with that. You'll notice he needs to change the mindset, though. Instead of just holding it up, get his body on the half turn to be able to take his first touch going forward instead of being completely back to goal. That's sort of that difficult transition from the center forward to that left forward and the 3 underneath the top guy that players sometimes struggle with making that transition.
I firmly believe they have all the pieces for that attack to be clicking on all cylinders when it reaches its max potential. Tyler Pasher, good out wide and cutting in, pressing on the dribble. Agudelo, one of the best hold-up players in the league. Nico Brett, a great finisher. And then your extra wild cards in that mix, the likes of Prosper Casino, what he can do in the attack. There's just so much depth there in the attack. That's what's going to guide this team throughout the season as the rain falls with the sun peeking through. Now at Segra Field, there was a weather alert until 7 p.m. Nothing, at least that we were told, was to spark any fear of delaying this game. Knock on wood, and hope it stays that way, but you know, they had some rain pushing through. Cornally along for Smith. Good pressure here from Loudoun, not making anything easy across midfield for Birmingham. They go more direct now to Mensah, and cut out by Santos. Armanakis slips through to Elmedkar. Some former teammates going at it down that left side of the field. Colin Smith, Khalil Elmedkar, together with North Texas Soccer Club in the FC Dallas organization for a couple of years. Wonder how many times that battle was fought on the training ground. Here's the pressure on the counter from Loudoun. Taken away, but Armanakis has options, and he misses them all. Put it between Leggett and Ryan. That's a couple of times now, Jamie, where they've had that counter on, they've forced a turnover and just couldn't get the last piece of the puzzle right.
The counterattacks are presenting themselves. It's just the final ball in the decision-making process. Armanakis does really well. He gets his head up, and it's just the indecisiveness of, do I play it across and get Kavita going back to his own goal, or do I cut it back? He gets caught in between two minds, and ultimately a good chance goes begging.
Corner to the near post. Hide it away. It's Birmingham who wanted a counter that time. Good challenge put in. On the backside by Landry. Santos ball. We'll have some questions to be answered. Direct from the punt here, Nico Brett. Going 1v5. Got past the first man, but the heavy touch allows Landry to come and take it.
Tremendous recovery from Landry. It had to be done. Nico Brett did so well using his body to win the first one. Tries to go through the legs, and if Landry isn't astute and thinking about worst case scenario and takes a half second off in that moment, Nico Brett's in one-on-one.
Well, the pot of gold at the end of this rainbow is perhaps a Loudoun United victory. They need it in the early going of this season. A couple of results that haven't gone their way. Happy with the way they've been in games, haven't finished those games. They go toe-to-toe with reigning champion San Antonio, earn a point. They go toe-to-toe with Colorado Springs, lose 1-0. Two games that Ryan Martin felt could have very easily gone their way. Even the Tulsa match, they lost by a couple of goals, felt it was a couple of mistakes, but they controlled much of the game. And so far, that's what we're seeing here through 12 minutes, dictating much of the play early on. Just can you convert those opportunities when they're there and turn them into points? Over the top again from Armanakis into the hands of Spangenberg.
Good job of covering from Colin Smith as well, too. Just gives that little bit of a nudge. We saw Kavita do it earlier at the top of the box on Leggett. You saw Colin Smith in that moment come over. Just provide a little bit of physical presence that throws a forward off in that moment. That slight little touch was just enough there to see it go through to Spangenberg.
I mean, we've got all the weather going here.
Everything you could
want.
The
sun's out, it's raining. You got a rainbow that kind of goes into right field of the baseball field in the distance. Having gone to college in this area and lived there for a little while, this is about right for April. The next thing you know, it'll be snowing, and that's not a joke. That will happen on some days. It'll be like this, all of a sudden it's snowing, you get a temperature drop. It's a wild time of the year in April in this neck of the woods.
I noticed it took you 7 long, excruciating minutes to talk about Cornally being a Terp, much like yourself, in an elite club of some of Maryland's finest. 7 minutes, that's a record for you, Jeff.
Good friend and colleague of ours, Devin Kerr. He and I had this running gag where, see how quick, oh, look out here for Rowe. It spins outside the post. Wow. Corner coming for Birmingham. It could have been much worse for Loudoun.
Oh,
you still haven't picked up your jaw.
At the end of that rainbow was almost one of the worst own goals you'll ever see. So the turf, as it starts to come back, instead of just rolling properly, it gets a little bit of a hop. And that is where Farrow nearly scores one of the most impressive and embarrassing own goals ever.
Unfortunately, nothing happens off the corner for now. Chance to get a secondary ball in. And now Ferreau will pick this one up.
I mean, you weren't kidding. The jaw was literally dropped as to what were we watching. That's the difference of playing on turf and grass, though. You get those unusual, unexpected bounces, and then the wicked spin. It really bites if it has any sort of underspin to it.
Looking through for Almedkar. Swept away. Back to Juan Ramirez. And now Landry. Coa Santos, one of the unsung heroes Ryan Martin pointed to the first few weeks. Happy to have snatched him up from Charlotte FC. Just didn't really click there for him, but he got a good run in Open Cup a couple of games last season. Was loaned out to Charlotte Independence of USL League One and showed out well. So another one of those guys, you go through the roster, is littered with them. Zach Ryan may be leading the way of guys who were just on MLS rosters, just thought of highly, whether drafted or signed out of college, and just sort of cast aside like misfit toys. They all found a home here.
Yeah, and they're really starting to show that the level of USL Championship is so high that the jump from Major League Soccer is very close to on par nowadays. And where this league is, it's never been better, it's never been harder. And those players that were on the MLS roster come in and find it difficult to adjust as well still.
Santos looking over the top. Kasu Samake pressuring. It'll be a throw for Birmingham.
It has to be said, Santos, though, has been influential in the first 16 minutes of this match, and that's why it was one of our keys to the match was can they get on the counter and can they get their outside backs higher? Because Samake on the left side has already gotten to the end line. And you look at Santos, a couple different times he's made the right decision of when to deliver the service, either first time or take a touch out of your feet and then cross it. It's been a really bright start for Loudoun. Ryan Martin will be well pleased with the first 16 minutes from his side.
Ryan Martin said that Coa Santos is a talented attacking right back with great wide service, but he also drives centrally, so it provides a unique change to the build-up when they need it. Complete player at that position. 23-year-old from Hawaii. Successful collegiate career at San Diego State before Charlotte grabbed him last year. Did make one MLS appearance in June. In a bit of an emergency pickle. They were short on some players. So 3 overall appearances with that first team. 2 in Open Cup and 1 in MLS. Here is Santos again. Looking for Zach Ryan inside. Coming back from a suspension, picked up a red card for an interaction with an official against San Antonio. As mentioned before, Zach Ryan leads the way for those players who were just on MLS rosters and needed a new home as they get set for a corner. He signed his homegrown deal with New York Red Bull last January, 2022. Option was declined after the 2022 season. Didn't even get a full year out of his little run there. Spent most of the year in USL Championship. 12 starts and a goal. Had 6 appearances off the bench. Now from the corner. Header saved by Spangenberg. Rebound sent over the stands again. And it was Yanis Learman who got ahead to it.
This is a towering header from Learman. Oh, he timed that leap wonderfully. The only problem was he was just worried about putting so much power and generating so much strength off of it. He put it right into the grateful arms of Spangenberg, who was able to make the reactionary save. What an opportunity for Loudoun.
Everything is going Loudoun's way in the early going, and they turn it into a goal. It's Almedkar. Ryan calling for it, looking in the middle instead for Leggett.
That was a good ball out from Ramirez as well to Almedkar to start that attack.
Goalkeeper is one position where you love to have the experience, whether it's Van Oekel, first choice, or Spangenberg as a second option. They have it in spades. For as long as he's been around, as many teams as he's been with, he only has 80 total professional appearances, always been the bridesmaid wherever he's been. including here to Van Oekel, but when it comes to goalkeepers, it seems like they age a lot better than any other position on the field. Armanakis to Elmedkar once again, inside to Ryan. Zach Ryan put it wide. Took a slight deflection. Another corner coming for Loudoun. Chances are mounting. At some point, they have to put one home.
Fans, be sure to stop.
Another decisive break through the heart of Birmingham.
Winners will be announced during halftime.
It's a really good ball, and Elmedkar gets his head up early, and he realizes he's got Zach Ryan in that position to be able to try to slip it in quickly to the center forward. It's a good decision. Zach Ryan, unlucky for the deflection, to take it wide.
Armanakis sends this one long. It's Samake on the backside. Samake chips it ahead. Brought down by Learman, who had the header on the last corner. This one does not provide a dangerous opportunity, as the last one did. Played ahead by Armanakis. Elmedkar, take a deflection. Spangenberg wise to it at the near post. Came off of, I believe, a Siadu.
Very good job from Spangenberg to recalibrate as he had started to shift his feet, and then he does a really good job. That would have snuck in at the near post from Elmedkar off the wicked deflection. Spangenberg's getting a good run these last couple weeks with Van Oekel out, and you mentioned the fact that he's always sort of been, oh, he's another bad giveaway.
Taken away by Leggett, coming in alone. Leggett pushed it wide.
This is so good from Leggett to read the game and take the touch around Cornali. The weight on that touch is really good because it does just enough to bait Spangenberg to come out, but Leggett's always going to be the first one to get there. But when he opens his hip, he doesn't wrap his foot around it. He opens his hip and then hits it straight with the inside of his foot, so he just passes it wide instead of getting that whip around where you close your hips at the last moment and you're able to try to curl that around the onrushing Spangenberg. That is a big opportunity, and for Leggett, who's in search for his first goal of the season, he needs to be finishing that. At this level, that quality of a player, it's got to be 1-0 at this point, Loudoun. And for Birmingham, they're up against the ropes right now. They're getting the balls played right through them. Loudoun are doing a wonderful job of pulling the players out wide and then finding passes through, and then Birmingham being the architects of their own undoing at times as well.
Look, coach speak is a thing. You're going to have coaches who try to make it sound good about their team at all times. But when Ryan Martin says this team went toe-to-toe with San Antonio, with Colorado Springs, and probably deserves more points than they have right now, he's not just saying that in terms of coach speak. You're seeing it through 22 minutes. This is one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, Birmingham, and Loudoun has easily been the better team through 22 minutes.
They really have. And now the one thing, though, that they haven't done is put it away.
Got to.
And you have to, because Birmingham is too good of a team. They've got Nico Brett at the other end. Agadello as well that can break out. Loudoun have to be able to finish one of these opportunities sooner or later, because the longer they leave Birmingham around, they are more than capable of striking quickly and being able to grab a goal. And then Loudoun's looking around going, how in the world are we down?
You talk about empty calorie shots sometimes in games. Maybe a team will outshoot another 20-7 or something like that. And how many of those are from 30, 35 yards out, hoping for the best, skying it over the bar? They have 6 shots in this game, Loudoun. All 6 of them are from inside the 18. They're getting the high-priced real estate opportunities so far. And the offside flag comes up here. Down on the right wing on Gabriel Alves. Pardon me, Agudelo is flipped over to the right side. Alves has come left.
And this may be a tactical shift that we're starting to see, because Agudelo, as you mentioned, started on the left and he's just shifted recently to the right, and I wonder if that's to try to get him to be able to cut in on that left foot. Alves playing left back in the team's last match against Phoenix, went out to the right, gave it 20, 22 minutes or so to see if that was going to work, and maybe there's a shift now to try to do something different, whether that's defensively or even try to create something offensively.
2010 is when Juan Agudelo burst onto the scene. 18-year-old, 6 goals, New York Red Bulls. Got into the U.S. men's national team picture right after that 2010 World Cup. Here he is 13 years later, 315 professional appearances later, 61 goals later.
Scored the bicycle kick in the Confederations Cup with the U.S. men's national team at 18.
Good clean tackle.
Ooh, Alves from
Landry.
behind late. Alves already has two in his. He's already had 2 fouls. That one was a bit petulant and a bit late from behind. He'll be very fortunate to not get a yellow card from our referee Arroyo today.
He's counting them up. That's never a good thing, pointing at different spots on the field. I wonder how many times the referees actually remember exactly where those fouls happen, or if they just try to vary it up and where they're pointing on the field. But either way, the message comes across. You're on your final legs here.
Yeah, and you can see with this one, as it gets turned over from a heavy touch, this is where I think it deserves a booking. He's already gotten 2 fouls that he was late in his timing that I can remember offhand, and then obviously the referee's seen a few as well for persistent infringement. That signal that he's making, as you alluded to, Joe, to let everybody know there's one here, one there. Maybe it's not the exact spot or close, but even Ryan Martin, he's got 3 fingers up, so I think he's saying there's his 3rd. And Ryan Martin, so mild-mannered, but poignant with what he says, right? To the point, and doesn't mince his words, right? When he has to raise his voice, he does, but carries himself in a way that gets his point across when he speaks.
It was elevated to meme levels in the past, where Ryan Martin is always just sitting in that corner seat, black notebook in hand, rarely shows anything. So you know something's amiss when he has to get up and either talk to a ref or a player. 25 minutes have come and gone here in Leesburg, Virginia. With Jamie Watson, I'm Joe Malfa. Happy to have you along this evening. 11 games in all today in USL Championship. This one begins the slate. Still scoreless. Not for a lack of chances for Loudoun. Now coming the other way, Moses Mensah leading the charge for Birmingham. Slowed down. Best chance of the day, you'd have to say, for Birmingham was actually on the near golazo own goal of Hugo Farreau.
I chuckle because you say golazo, it's
it's anything but, really.
Yeah, it would have been almost impressive. You said, I'm going to stand here and I'm going to curl this to the far post facing this way. You know,
the soccer equivalent of horse if you were on a basketball court. Nobody else would have been able to replicate what he did, almost. Coming in for a potential head injury, stopping the play here. Luis Arroyo saw Leggett went down, but he's back to his feet. He might have to step off here anyway. Anytime the referee has to stop it for a potential head injury, even if it's for a brief second, he'll come off the field here. Trainer came on. Leggett's opportunity so far, maybe the best of the bunch on the takeaway. Just pushed it wide of Spangenberg. 6 shots, again, all from inside the box for Loudoun. Only 2 of those 6, however, on target. The rest of the players turn this into a quasi-water break. Luis Arroyo is trying to hurry things along here. That was not his intention, waiting for somebody to take the drop ball. And Birmingham will start up with it again. Part of the new look for Loudoun stems from the way the relationship with DC United has changed under new ownership now. Not an official tie to DC United. So they've had some more freedom in terms of the players, in terms of how they operate here. That even goes all the way down to how a player like Jeremy Garay is used. Teenager, 16th ever homegrown signing in DC United's history. Last year would be up and down, whether that was on game days or even on the training ground week to week. It was difficult to form any bonds with his teammates. Giveaway here by Loudoun. Prosper Kassim pushing inside. Well, that sends it long through for Nico Brett.
Oh, that's disappointing. Asiadu does a really good job of winning the first initial challenge, throwing off the Loudoun attacker, or Loudoun midfielder, excuse me, to win it. And Kassim has got to just be able to find the feet of Nico Brett. When you play it to the feet, then Brett has the ability to take the touch, dictate where he wants it to go, and then get his shot off from there. Instead, Kassim on this turf tries to lead Brett in that moment, and he's always chasing it, and as soon as he reads the flight of the ball and the revolutions, realize it's going to go over the end line.
Here's El Medkar looking to break out, has Landry and Leggett located centrally. Still El Medkar driving it, taken by Cronali. Here's Leggett, blocked by Kavita, out for another corner.
El Medkar just doesn't make a decision fast enough. And to Cornali's credit, he does a good job of continuing to stay with it. So in that moment of indecision from Elmedkar, that's when Cornali gets the right side and again is able to come back and impact the play. And Kavita, his partner, his center back, does a good job of closing down Leggett.
It's already the 5th corner of the match now for Loudoun. Elmedkar swings it in near post. Nobody was making that crashing run. Headed back in. Spangenberg was hesitant. Got there anyway. Dangerously rolled it out to Mensah and give it away. They are not in sync at any level of the field right now.
Well, this is where you miss the experience of Van Oekel. The 36-year-old goalkeeper would have understood in that moment. You have the ball in your hands, 30 minutes in. You've weathered a few attacks. 5 corner kicks, as you alluded to. At this moment in time might be the time in which you give everybody a couple seconds to gather their breath. And then Van Oekel sends it 80 yards up the field as only he can. That one, Spangenberg just rushes it, though, and gives possession right back. Let's see if Spangenberg learns and has a better mindset with this to try to get his group up. Because Loudoun is looking for him. They're just trying to bait him into playing it. It's just
he did that, but
it's just
right the same
back,
result.
Though. Yeah. Right now, you'll get your rest as a player when you're on the road playing against a team that's off to a very bright 31 minutes. You get your rest with the ball, believe it or not. Right now, they're chasing, and Loudoun is doing a good job of moving the ball quickly from side to side and right through the middle of Birmingham. This is when it becomes really difficult to defend constant wave after wave when you just keep giving the ball back to the other team.
Loudoun's not by any stretch of the imagination, considered a heavy possession team. They have almost 70%. It's at 67 right now through 32 minutes. Over the top to Elmedkar. Spangenberg out to meet it. Still with Elmedkar, he beat the keeper. Centers it, Ryan pushed it wide, completely flubbed it. Santos now at the back post, Leggett! It was building, knocking on the door. They kick it down, and it's 1-0 Loudoun.
It's nothing less than what Loudoun United and Ryan Martin's side deserve. They've been exceptional in the first 32 minutes of this match. Elmedkar does a great job of reading the flight of it and understanding on this turf it's gonna hold up. Santos, decisive, picks his head up, one touch to collect himself, realizes there's a number advantage at the back post, and this is an impeccable service. Leggett resets, reads the flight of the ball from Santos, gets up and over it, falling away, manages to stay up and over it. That's how he's able to keep it underneath the crossbar. It's much more difficult than it looks, and it's the reward that they deserve. 1-0 Loudoun.
And it's a reward he deserves as well. 4 previous appearances this season, only one of those was a start. Have to be careful not to concede quickly here. Alves slips it through. Mensah at the end line. Back to Leggett in a second. Over the top, the header's over the bar. Have to be careful first 5 minutes after scoring or conceding. And Juan Agudelo almost wasted no time in leveling.
And it's the first real sign of life we've seen from Birmingham. And it's unfortunate it takes conceding to get that, but it's a really good response. Tom Stone and his side will be pleased to see that reaction after conceding. But as this goes wide, this is gonna get hung up because it gets to the end line. So Mensah knows he's just gonna stab at it underneath it. And Agudelo is under some immense pressure. He's trying to get it up and over, but it's a really good job of the defender just backtracking and doing enough to provide enough, not winning the header, but throwing Agudelo off.
And back to Leggett, just earning this starting spot today after scoring in the Open Cup. And they've had a chance to digest that Open Cup victory. Asked Ryan Martin how he treated it. Gave the players 3 days off because they were off last weekend. Got to celebrate Easter, Ramadan with their families, recharge. And they felt that was a good time in the season to have that idle week here in USL. And Leggett, in the meantime, because of that Open Cup game, snatched the starting job, at least for today, from Tommy Williamson. That's his first goal in USL Championship, second for Loudoun, with the other again being the game winner in that Open Cup game. It's a kid in form right now. Alves. Kavita. This is, I mean, since the goal, this is the most we've seen Birmingham on the ball consecutively in the game so far. Ryan. Armanakis.
Just waiting for some support. Santos, maybe after giving up that goal, is catching his breath because Armanakis was just waiting for Santos to get around him, and it didn't come. But that's the difference. Birmingham has been trying to force that pass and turning it over. Loudoun keeps it, goes to Santos, and now that ball was either going to go to Leggett or it was going to go to Ryan. Because it goes through, catches Cornali off balance, now it goes out for a corner. That's the difference in keeping possession and then something else coming off of that, whereas Birmingham have just been forcing the issue for the most part this half.
Come on, y'all.
Seventh corner. Armanakis, 24-year-old from California, by way of a slew of other places: Greece, Belgium, Denmark, Australia. From the corner to the back post, punched away by Spangenberg. Brought down by Samake, chipped ahead. Now Medkar was waiting. Asiadu gets out of the pressure. Ahead to Nico Brett. There's nobody there helping him for now. Scrambling back after defending the corner. It's Kasim. Has to switch on, sees it, plays it. Colin Smith has to hustle to get there and just keeps it in. Smith battling with Samake. Talked about it at the beginning, how Birmingham could get Mensah and Smith involved in the attack. Now, granted, they haven't had much of the ball, period, but when they have, we haven't seen a lot of Mensah and Smith getting forward.
Well, and it's been turned over so quickly. As an outside back, you actually tend to stop making those runs forward when the midfielders are losing it. That was a moment where they connected a couple of passes, and Colin Smith was able to go and join into the attack because Birmingham put 2, 3, 4, 5 passes together, and then it was a good switch from Kasim out wide that was able to get Smith into that 1v1 position. It's amazing what actually keeping the ball will be able to do as far as getting more and more numbers forward.
Agudelo now finds Mensah, the other outside back. Intercepted by Landry. Now Medkar spots the run of Armanakis, threads the needle. Anos Armanakis cutting in, spots the run of Ryan. Zach Ryan has his shot blocked.
Tremendous defending from Cornali. Just good reading of the game and understanding where to put himself.
Pace slowing a bit. Getting closer and closer to halftime. Agudelo.
This is good from Loudoun. See how they're so compact. It's forcing Birmingham to go wide. Now they're looking to see is something on in the middle. This is a great turn from Asiadu.
Asiadu to Brett. Lays it off. Kasim. Agudelo doesn't get there in time. He gets away with the contact. Directing traffic. Kasim stagnant top of the box. Now Smith. It'll fall again for Agudelo. Using that big frame, gets to the end line, still stays on his feet. Agudelo into the hands of Ferro.
Good individual skill from Agudelo. A flash of brilliance. Sees him get by Samake. From that end line, though, that's such a difficult position, and the defenders for Loudoun, to their credit, did a really good job of cutting off all the potential passing angles. And in the end, Agudelo is just trying to make something from a difficult position.
Mentioned it earlier that we chatted with Eric Avila this week instead of Tom Sohn. He had personal matters to tend to. Well, Eric Avila touched a bit on their scout of Loudoun and said it was very different than in past years. You look back Last year, a couple years ago, you roll on the tape from one game, it's these 11 players. Next game, maybe 7 of those are different. Maybe it's a first-teamer from DC United. Maybe it's an academy kid coming up. It was such a difficult scout. Free kick coming here for Loudoun. But this year, they knew what to expect, and what they expected was a young, hungry team that is better than their record indicated. They've gotten all they can handle so far through 40 minutes.
They have. I walked away from that conversation incredibly impressed with Eric Avila and his thoughtfulness and approach to how Loudoun maybe was viewed one way in the narrative on the team from the past, and he was very cut and clear, and he said, no, this is a very good team. They are very different, and we respect them and give them the respect that they deserve. They've shown why they command that respect, and I think Birmingham were well prepared to understand that at times there were going to be moments that they're on the back foot. Loudoun have been exceptional, but that conversation with Avila proves to me why he's going to be one of the rising American coaches, former player, now coach, in the ranks of the coaching system for a very long time to come.
Second year now as an assistant with Legion.
And now more responsibility with Connor Smith having moved on.
Another set piece, Armanakis stands over. With that left foot, arcs it toward the back post, and it across frame, and on by Almedkar, but an easy gather for Spangenberg. It was not too long ago that Armanakis was considered one of the 50 best young up-and-comers in the world per The Guardian. Was on that U17 World Cup team with Australia in Chile less than a decade ago. And he's still just 24 years of age, and that ties back into, again, the idea and intention from Loudoun, picking up guys who, for whatever reason, whether MLS or abroad, didn't hit that ceiling, trying to get them to hit it here. In the meantime, it helps both assets involved here. It helps Loudoun win games and get to the playoffs, and it helps them further their careers. It's a win-win.
Absolutely, and you've got a coach in Ryan Martin who has a really good grasp of how to get the most out of players, and especially younger players. And he's a player that still has a lot of his best football still in front of him.
Speaking of players with their best football still in front of them, Josh Winder, big news this week.
Wow.
From Louisville City FC to the senior men's national team for the United States. A lot of rumors, of course, rumbling, and his impending potential move to Europe. That's going to be a feather in the cap of the league once the number eventually perhaps comes out on what he was moved for. But in the meantime, killing it with Louisville, and next week perhaps taking the field against Mexico. Another chance here for Almedkar. 2-0 Loudoun. Khalil Almedkar active all half long. Missed a couple of chances early. Doesn't miss this one.
Almedkar celebrates with the fans, and it's the driving run. Gets to the wrong side of Asiadu, and once he gets in the box, Asiadu has to let him go. Almedkar still with a lot of work to do, a lot of pressure on his back shoulder. Does a great job of driving through the inside of his left foot, so he has the accuracy, but he puts enough pace on it to go beyond the onrushing Spangenberg. It's a clinical finish from the former FC Dallas man. And Loudoun, 2 goals to the good.
Almedkar, his first goal of the season. Last year made 5 appearances in MLS. One of those to start with FC Dallas. They had the option to play him with North Texas in MLS Next Pro, but they decided to keep him on the bench all season long, so we did not see a lot of playing time. That was after in 2021. He sort of did the same thing, spent most of his time with FC Dallas, but had a little more run with North Texas, had 5 goals, had a few assists in 13 appearances. Now a free kick coming for Birmingham. They need something in the worst way here heading into halftime. To be a fly on the wall in the locker room at halftime for Birmingham if they don't find something here. That set piece amounts to nothing. Out to Colin Smith. Smith through, and there's nothing there. 1 shot, none on target. Only scoring chance to near own goal for Birmingham here in this first half.
Tom Stone, Eric Avila, the entire staff for Birmingham Legion will be disappointed with the lack of creativity, the lack of being able to keep possession, the lack of really being able to put any sort of their dictation on this match. It's been all Loudoun, and for Birmingham, how do you fix that? They've got to get some more and more movement. They've got to get more players that are making better decisions on the ball. There's too many individual mistakes, too many times they're turning possession over. And right now, they're being too stretched out defensively. It's too easy for Loudoun to play right through the middle. And El Medkar's goal comes from just driving and not enough cover forcing him to go wider. He was able to go right through the middle, right in behind the Siadu, and then he's able to finish from there.
Offside flag coming up here. And Samake.
I want to go back to your point you made about Josh Weiner just moments before El Medkar's goal. That's what this league is about. It's about producing players from the academies into the first team and then being able to go on to represent their countries.
17 years old.
17 years old, and I think back to
The fourth official
1 minute tacked out here.
I think back to the match from Louisville versus Nashville in the Open Cup last year for about 55, 60 minutes. Josh Weiner was the best player on the field. It was one of the best games I had seen from an individual player defensively, completely taking out the attack of Nashville SC. He goes down injured, and the game completely switched from there. Louisville, of course, had an amazing run all the way to the final. Their US Open Cup ended there, but Josh Weiner, at that point, you saw that there was something special, and he's continued to get better under the tutelage of Danny Cruz, James O'Connor leading that club as well. He's been very fortunate to have some very good coaches and a support system around him. And this league, because other teams and other players are so good, that is what has sharpened the skills for Josh Weiner that's forced this potential impending league record move and call-up to the U.S. men's national team this week.
Absolutely. Friendly coming on Wednesday against Mexico and Arizona, what they're dubbing the Continental Clasico. It was a Clasico of a half here for Loudoun United, out shooting Birmingham 13-1, 5 on target to nothing. And the kicker for me, all 13 shots for Loudoun inside the box. They're finding all the dangerous areas. It's the reason they have a 2-0 lead going into the break.
Their most complete 45 minutes of the season.
No other way to characterize it than that. They have 45 more to go ahead and preserve this victory. Back with more in a second from Leesburg.
Every business needs a winning technology game plan that starts with dedicated connectivity to enable modern solutions like collaboration, cloud, and security. Team up with
Business today is fast, unpredictable, always changing. Shifting trends and technologies are pushing aside old rules. The unexpected is the new normal. Segra is here to help you get what's next with our best-in-class connectivity, cybersecurity, cloud, and collaboration solutions. Whatever your business dreams, we have the network and services to get you there. Segra, giving your business the freedom to grow today. Segra is a proud sponsor of the Loudoun United Football Club.
There are certain things we've come to expect in Northern Virginia. Traffic jams, tourists, cherry blossoms, and reliable power from Novec. With a 99.99% rating, Novec's reliability is among the best in the region. To keep that high service level, Novec regularly upgrades its electric system equipment with new poles, wire, and cutting-edge technology. Novec, delivering power you can count on.
2-0 lead at the break for Loudoun United over Birmingham Legion. Interesting result that we have brewing here. Still 45 more minutes to preserve this, and it will be up to goalkeeper Hugo Farrell to help preserve it. He is today's player spotlight. Hugo joined the red and white ahead of the 2023 USL season. The native of Cannes, France, started his youth career with his hometown club, AS Cannes, before moving to the Academy of French Giants, AS Monaco. The 6'1" shot stopper moved stateside to play at Lake Erie College before transferring to Florida International University, where he garnered all Conference USA honors. In 2019, Farrell made his professional debut with Norwegian side Valdres FK. Last season, Hugo recorded 83 saves in 22 matches with USL Championship side Charleston Battery. With that, we take a look at the upcoming schedule for USL Championship on ESPN. You see Louisville there a couple of times, tying that back to all that talk about Josh Weiner. When will he stay? When will he go? We don't know. But if he's there on May 13th, if he's there on July 19th, two big ones to tune into amid a few other terrific games on schedule.
Oh, he's worth the price of admission and worth tuning into those matchups. Josh Weiner, an exceptional player in this league.
Also worth turning into the rest of this one here. Loudoun a 2-0 lead. We're back with more in a few moments from Segra Field.
We all have goals. But let's be honest, most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals. We all have goals. But let's be honest, most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
Loudoun ahead 2-0 on Birmingham Legion. First of 11 games to be played here in USL Championship on this Saturday. Started out as a rainy Saturday here at Segra Field. Sun has come out, had a brilliant rainbow in the background as well. And the gold at the end of the rainbow so far has been the first half play of Loudoun United. Step aside for a moment from this game and look ahead. We talked about Josh Weiner and his call up to the U.S. men's national team. You can watch him play on ESPN2 with Louisville against Miami on May 13th, less than a month from now. Your player of the month is Jordan Farr of San Antonio, keeper of the year last year in USL Championship, and once again leading the way for San Antonio. That would take a look again at the standings here in the Eastern Conference. Coming into the day, looked one way, now it looks a different way. Loudoun United in 5th place in the live table. Again, it's early, but stack them here so this way in the summer when you're coming into your own, you don't have to worry as much. So Loudoun hopes to hold on to all 3 of these points here with this 2-0 lead over Birmingham Legion. Second half is on the way.
Business today is fast, unpredictable, always changing. Shifting trends and technologies are pushing aside old rules. The unexpected is the new normal. Segra is here to help you get what's next with our best-in-class connectivity, cybersecurity, cloud, and collaboration solutions. Whatever your business dreams, we have the network and services to get you there. Segra, giving your business the freedom to grow today. Segra is a proud sponsor of the Loudoun United Football Club.
Birmingham Legion hopefully squeezed every ounce out of that halftime. They needed it. They did not look like the team we have seen so far this season. Through 45 minutes, they had been one of the best in the Eastern Conference, but it was Loudoun United flexing the muscles, dominating in half number one as we take a look at those first half highlights.
Well, it was a great start for Loudoun. Talked about the influence that Santos could have on one side, Samaki on the other. This time, Santos puts it on the head of Leggett, and that was just a sign of things to come. It was a fantastic reactionary save to push it up and over from Spangenberg. Leggett and Ryan, the movement is just causing all sorts of problems, and then ultimately it led to this moment in the 32nd minute. Arminicus does a great job of hanging this up. It bites on the turf, and then Elmedkar puts it back into the path of Ryan. Can't believe his luck as it bounces up and goes wide, but Santos again. 30 minutes later, this time, Spangenberg cannot do anything but pick this one out of the back of the net. Leggett does a good job of recalibrating his run. Santos picks up, sees where the numbers overload is. Spangenberg had overcommitted back to the near post, can't get back over. Leggett stays over for his first goal of the season.
We'll get to this goal in a second. I know the goal of the week is usually a screamer from 30 yards out. I hope Leggett gets a nomination for that. What he did with his body, the athleticism, was terrific, and then Elmedkar just takes it away, goes to the heart of the defense here, and passes it into the corner. But Leggett on that goal, to be in the air, how many times did you see that skim off the player's top of their head, go to the corner, or they head it over the bar because they can't get down into it? Incredible athleticism. We'll take a look at the stats now at halftime, brought to you by Betfred. 13 shots to 1, 4 on target, 10 on a dominant first half by Loudoun, and I just wanted to make sure Leggett got his flowers because that was not easy to pull off what he did.
Oh, the degree of difficulty was through the roof on that one, and well, the degree of difficulty for Birmingham right now to get back into this game is also through the roof because Loudoun were downright dominant, as you said, Joe. That was the best 45 minutes I have seen from Loudoun, maybe since their inception. They were fantastic from start to finish that half.
Ryan Martin will be one of the first to tell you that over the last couple of years, they were realistic about their expectations, and they knew that no matter how hard they tried, playoffs weren't necessarily in the cards. If they could send a few players to the first team, great. That is part of what they were trying to do. He legitimately believes this season's team is a playoff contender. It's hard to argue with that because of the talent they have amassed. What the hang-up could maybe be, and he will admit this, is the experience factor. They have to gel. They have to start getting their feet wet more and more. But it's easy to see the talent is there, and to see how they went toe-to-toe with San Antonio, with Colorado Springs, now here through 45, running one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference off the pitch. This is not your old Loudoun side that you could look at on the schedule and say, there's 3 points. And again, Ryan Martin would be one of the first to admit that. Some of their games last year, he would go into it knowing the writing was on the wall. He'd come out of it knowing that it probably could have been worse than it actually was. Not the case anymore.
Yeah, you're right. And I think the biggest thing now, biggest sign of growth we'll see is can they come and replicate that in the second half? Can you put together a consistent 90 minutes? Ryan Martin told us time and time again, you saw glimpses, and you get glimpses from younger players and from younger teams. But the hardest thing is to be able to put that stretch together for the complete entire 90 minutes. Can they go out, replicate the second half, what they did in the first half? And if they can, they look like it's going to be a very difficult task for Birmingham to come back. But Birmingham has the players, has the capability, and certainly will have had the team talk to be able to go out and try to fix things, and more in particular, just be harder to break down than they were in the first half.
And you know that the head coach rattled some cages in the locker room when he comes out, and he makes 2 changes right out of the gates. Moses Mensah comes out of the match for Jacob Roof. There's your first change, and the other sees Enzo Martinez come into the fold for Prosper Kasim. Martinez, one of the players who leads by example on this team. They rely on him for so much. Pardon me, Prosper Kasim still out there. We'll get that sub in a second as far as who came off for Enzo Martinez. One of the engines of this team, fan favorite in Birmingham. Colin Smith, excuse me, was the other one out. So swap of the 2 outside backs. I would imagine Gabriel Alves goes back to his position now. That experiment from the first half.
Yep, you can see Alves. Yep, that's a very good point there. Tactically, Alves goes back, and I wouldn't be surprised if he starts to play higher as like a wing back with maybe 3 in the back as well.
Birmingham in the black and gold from left to right. Loudoun, the white and red from right to left, and a 2-0 lead. With MLS veteran Jamie Watson, I'm Joe Malfa. Happy to have you with us this evening for some USL Championship action. All substitutions brought to you by Segra. Birmingham makes 2 at the break. Again, Jacob Roof coming in, Enzo Martinez coming in. That's all for Colin Smith and Moses Mensah.
Number 19, Enzo Martinez. All substitutions are brought to you by Segra.
Enzo Martinez brings creativity off the bench, tied for 8th all-time in USL Championship in assists. 2 away from the milestone of 40. And Martinez with 59 goals in this league. He is on the brink of joining a very exclusive club here in USL Championship, the 40-40 club. Solomon Asante, a part of it, and Solomon Asante, the only part of it right now. Enzo Martinez close to joining that rarefied air.
Almost 100 goal contributions. That's simply remarkable. Fantastic career Enzo Martinez has, and 32 years old. Doesn't look like he's particularly slowing down too much.
You've been in locker rooms where you've been on the good side and bad side of first halves like that. On the one side for Loudoun, I suppose to your point, it's just a matter of keeping the same thing. They're a young team that has to do some growing and maturing in situations like this, but what is it like? It depends, I guess, on the temperament of a coach, but on the other side, in the Birmingham, is it a lot of yelling? Is it throwing water bottles? Is there a calmness to it? Does it depend case to case when you come in and have a first half like they had?
You know, it really depends, as you said, kind of case to case with the manager, but also the players around. And what are the leadership styles of those players? Is it somebody that doesn't usually speak up, but then they do speak up, so it carries a little bit more weight? Is it a dynamic in which you don't have to really look around for inspiration because you know it wasn't good enough? Birmingham is a little bit older of in a group. There's some players that have been around and been able to be in these situations and all just understand that all it takes is one goal, you get right back into the game. Now you get a younger side in Loudoun, kind of on the back foot, you know, confidence starting to waver a little bit. So I think the first 10 minutes are especially important in this half, and I think so far Birmingham have looked really bright coming out of the half, but now they need to make sure as they get up higher up the field into the final third, they have a little bit more quality individually, because I think there was a lot of individual breakdowns, both tactically but also on the ball with decision making.
I mean, the stats are staggering. We talk about the shots all coming in the box for Loudoun as Farrow just gets to the safety. How about touches in the opposing 18-yard box? 26 touches for Loudoun, 2 touches for Birmingham, and I could pinpoint them, and that's when you know you had a weak half. It was when Agudelo made that nice move end line, cut end line, and his pass was easily scooped up by Farrow. That's it, the only 2 touches they've had inside the 18. Cronali pressured by Almedkar, has to go all the way back for Spangenberg. Giannis Learman. 4-1 Ramirez. Leggett trying to turn on Cronali. A lot of hand fighting going on. Leggett comes in with his shoulder. Referees all say play on, with the body strewn about. Now a foul called. Fans don't like it, players don't like it on the Loudoun side. And a yellow card as well for Hosu Landry.
It's a foul, but in the context and the spirit of which this game has been played, there's been a lot of leniency towards Birmingham and those late fouls, in particular Alves, who's had 3 of them. This one with Landry, he's going in to try to play it. The second leg does come through. I get it, but if there's been leniency and conversations had with the players for Birmingham, I think that's a moment in which you can speak to Landry. I just think that maybe was a little bit of out of character of how this game has gone so far from a referee, Luis Arroyo.
And a reaction like that from the fans and the players, and a reason why. That's one that's maybe tough to explain to new owner Greg Baroni on the bench. He has been sitting pitch side with Ryan Martin through the early games of the season. He's a baseball guy, complete baseball background, and he's trying to just immerse himself in this Loudoun side, whether it's showing up 3 times a week to training or sitting next to Ryan Martin on game days, just loves it, knows that the fan base is there to tap into in this league. So that's one where maybe for a guy coming from baseball, it's a little tough to explain why Landry picked up the yellow here and Alves didn't in the first half.
Yeah, it'd be a fair question to ask, but I appreciate an owner that wants to be around and wants to be involved. And the biggest compliment Ryan Martin got or gave him was that he's around, but he lets me do my job and wants to learn more, wants to be involved, but in the right ways.
That's Landry taken down this time. Or pardon me, Leggett coming back, taken down. See if this produces a card. I got the Loudoun players asking for it after they just saw Landry pick one up. It looks like it'll stay in the pocket this time. Ryan Martin befuddled.
Talked about getting a meme. Sitting in years past on the bench. That looked like it had all the makings of a good meme.
Only one other match as far along as we are. That is FC Tulsa taking on Charleston Battery. Charleston just scored a minute ago to make it 2-1 on the road. Keeps them in the live standings, top of the table, now 4 points clear of Birmingham. Elsewhere, Miami and Detroit just kicked off in South Florida, and Pittsburgh and RGV just kicked off on the banks of the Three Rivers. Settled by Ramirez. At some point, Loudoun has to produce a how-to on where they found some of these diamonds in the rough. Ramirez, another example, 25-year-old, originally from Colombia. It slipped through to Kasim, more than a second. Prosper Kasim has to run inside of Brett. Heavy touch, gets there anyway around the keeper. Deflected in front, and it trickles. Is it in? No, play on. Back for Alves, and wide.
Oh, Enzo Martinez is furious, and at first glance, it looked like it had crossed the line. So the first ball probably should have been played to the other side of Learman, but instead, oh, it just gets in, and on second look, I stand corrected, Learman looks as though he got there. The heavy touch bites on the turf. Nico Brett turns around, tries to go clear, 5th all-time with his 73rd goal, and Learman with a wonderful recovery. Again, no video review, so the call in the field will be the only call that goes, and our referees today were right on it, quick with their decision.
Can they turn it into something the other way? Armenakis driving at the back line, scoops it toward the far post, and it's wide for a goal kick. Yellow card now given to Jacob Roof.
Yeah, Arroyo, referee, carried the play on. When Roof committed the foul, it didn't stop the attack, so he didn't want to punish Loudoun by stopping the play.
To Birmingham Legion FC's number
And
13,
then
Jake
going for the spectacular with the scoop. Very difficult on turf to do, to get up and over, and with the ball rolling away from you as well. Let's take a look.
Yeah, let's see. It's as tight as it gets. I'm going to bring up Spain, Japan in the World Cup, and how many times did we see different angles of that ball on the end line? If you know which one I'm speaking of, it made all the rounds on social media, and it was the talk of the match day that day. You could look at it from a million different angles. I know Christina Uncle put out a tutorial video on Twitter. There's so many great things to the referee community and explaining things on Twitter, and it showed you how you could look at it from 10 different angles, and from some it will look over the line, some others no. It's got to be all entirely over. There's no way to tell. You can see a little bit of green right there, but again, if you're looking straight down at it, that's where that perception changes. Without VAR, without goal line technology, there's no way to know. And from what we have, I'm going to say I think it stayed out. Again, just based on what we know of how the angles can change everything for you. As close as it gets.
I think you're absolutely right. I'm not even going to try to dissect that anymore, because I think you hit that absolutely spot on. You saw that hint of green that makes you want to say that it's over the line, but then you got to think of the spherical nature of the ball.
Look at us talking math.
Please don't ask me to spell spherical. Not even sure that's a word, but if you just say it quickly and confidently, thank you. No, in all seriousness, though, that is as close as you will see to a ball that could be over, could not be over. And at this point in the match, within the first 10 minutes of the second half, being down 2-0, that is a massive moment in the game. And you've got to give Learman all the credit in the world to be able to switch on mentally, to be able to get back and to even make that clearance. If he is a millisecond later, that's in.
That deflects last off of Roof for a Loudoun throw. Right before all that craziness ensued, was ready to heap some praise on Juan Ramirez for the quiet, calming presence he's brought to the midfield for Loudoun in the last couple of matches. Another one of those just diamond in the rough players. Armenakis gives it up. Leggett looking far post. Spangenberg punches it away. Ramirez, high school in the area, DC United Academy, went abroad to Spain, never made a real professional appearance at any higher division. Tried to go to Colombia, did the same thing. Finds his way back home to the DC area. Practiced all year last year with Loudoun, no contract, just trained with them all season long. Signs ahead of this season. Now he's starting and playing big minutes. And Samake into the hands of Spangenberg. So whether it's Ramirez traveling the world, coming back home, practicing for a year, and then finally signing, some of these other guys who are MLS castoffs, wherever they have found them, they've searched far and wide. They put them all together here, and it is a team that is not by any means a pushover this year in the Eastern Conference.
This is a remarkable story from Ramirez. Really goes to the testament of a player that has passion for the game, love for the game, and willing to do anything for it. As there's a foul on Corcoran, but I love that story with Ramirez because it just shows that there was every excuse to quit, and yet you find the player finding a reason not to. And here he is getting his just reward, and he's been really good tonight through the first 58 minutes of this match.
It's always tough going up against the likes of Seydou in that midfield for Birmingham. Been regarded as one of the tops at that position in this league now for a couple of seasons at Seydou. And how many times like this do we see Birmingham second to those loose balls because it's either Landry or Ramirez jumping on it first. Now this time they're able to force it through.
Referee was just having a word with Ramirez as they were going on that counter. Just wonder if he might get booked when this play ends, or just a talking to. Looks like he's going to escape a booking because it was another tackle. And you could just see a referee, Luis Arroyo, having that conversation. The two of them going back and forth as they made their way recovery runs.
From the corner, grabbed by Farrell. Samake turns the corner into some space. Ryan couldn't get there. Approaching the hour mark now. It's been better in this second half from Birmingham. But that one flurry in front with the save off the line is still their only goal-scoring opportunity here in this second half through a quarter of an hour. And given away here. Kavita screaming at Cronali. El Medkar says thank you very much. One goal already for El Medkar. Cuts in over the bar. They say it took a deflection. The referee came in initially, overruled by the assistant referee. El Medkar just got underneath it. Just another poor giveaway by Birmingham.
El Medkar, again, much like when he scored in the first half, just driving at the defense, drops the left shoulder, cuts inside. And just like us, everybody on the field, Spangenberg included, watching to see if that was going to go underneath the crossbar. That's a big opportunity for El Medkar. It just creates that little bit of a gap to be able to get the shooting angle for the far post by that little subtle drop of the shoulder.
Don't often see Kavita and Cronali miscommunicating. That has been the battery at center back the last couple of years now for Birmingham. Two of the better ones in the league. Be hard pressed to find a better tandem than those two. Brilliant give and go. Puts into space Landry. Landry taken out from behind. And no foul call. The Seadu wins it cleanly in the eyes of Luis Arroyo. That's the hour mark now. With Jamie Watson, I'm Joe Malfa. Happy to have had you with us this evening from Leesburg, Virginia at Segra Field, where Loudoun United have a 2-0 lead over Birmingham Legion. Goals in the 32nd and 42nd minutes by Wesley Leggett and Khalil El Medkar, respectively. Birmingham almost brought one back about 10 minutes ago now. On the prowl again. Kasim inside to Brett. Tried to get it back to Kasim. Couldn't get it over the head of Learman.
Well, good movement from Learman. He's just the one that broke it up and then just saw a quick little space that he just accelerates 5 yards into, keeps possession, and they win the foul off that. Learman has had a wonderful 62 minutes tonight. Nonetheless, that save we talked about time and time again off the goal line, but just stifling the attack for Birmingham, who have been really potent this season.
Select, the official match ball supplier of the USL Championship and many elite leagues throughout Europe. Visit www.selectsportamerica.com for the latest Select products, specials, and more. Select, the player's choice. Another change coming on the Birmingham side. That'll be all for Matthew Corcoran. The 17-year-old wearing number 17 in his 17th USL appearance leaves here in the 63rd minute. And Ben Ravino comes in.
Birmingham Legion
Sent
FC
on loan
substitution in the
about
63rd
10
minute.
days before the season began from New England Revolution to Birmingham. Still those ties of Tom Sohn to that New England organization from his many years spent there.
All substitutions are brought to you by Segra.
Trevino just turned 24. Second-round pick by New England Revolution in the 2022 MLS draft. Only one appearance with the first team last year was an Open Cup. Headed back to Spangenberg. Had to be alert to it. It was a pretty good header, but not for the right reasons. On the backside by Jake Roof. Switch to Kasim. Keeps it in.
What a ball from Alves that was.
Tommy Williamson getting ready to check in now for Loudoun. He's not the only one. Aiden Rocha also. Wonder if Rocha is a means to get Landry off the field with that yellow card, not leave anything to chance here in this second half. Williamson sent to the bench in favor of Wesley Leggett today. Leggett did his job, got the goal in the first half. We'll retake that throw in. The referee had already blown the whistle to make the subs. And it will be Ramirez who comes off, the other defensive midfielder instead of Landry. For Rocha. And it is Leggett on the way out for Williamson. All substitutions brought to you by Segra.
Fantastic night. Wesley Leggett got his reward. Could have had more, missed an opportunity, but had the right mindset to be able to take the more difficult of the two opportunities. The cross from Santos. He contorts himself, he adjusts his body, and he scores a brilliant header for his first goal of the season.
All substitutions are brought to you.
Good 64 minutes from him tonight.
Williamson comes in, has a goal already this season, had started all 4 of the previous matches this season. This was Leggett's first start in favor of Williamson. And it's Williamson's return this season to USL Championship after a season spent in MLS Next Pro. Whipped in and cleared out for a corner. Williamson last year had a successful season with Minnesota United too. 9 goals in 21 games. Aiden Rocha, a draft pick this year of DC United. Ended up going unsigned after preseason, signed with Loudoun United. So we'll often talk about that. There's still a relationship between the two teams, just not actually part of the ecosystem anymore. Martinez from the corner. Couldn't get it past the first man, but he's got a second chance at it now. Kasim arcs it up, headed away. And Loudoun wants to break out here on the counter. Rolled out ahead for Rocha. Touched out to the side for, Santos. They've switched sides. Santos coming over now to left back and spent the whole match at right back. Had the assist on the opening goal to Leggett.
And he does enough to be able to apply pressure on Asidu to be able to force the deflection and win a corner. It's just the way things are going for Loudoun tonight. Everything seems to be going their way. Every bounce, every second ball. Ryan Martin, a man that surely deserves some luck and good fortune as the manager of this club. His team has created luck with hard work and preparation.
El Medcar near post, flashing was Ryan. Samake gets it back into the mix. Somebody's got to bring it down. There you go. Rocha takes it down. Aiden Rocha looks for an option. All the way back now to Farrell. Fortunate to have maintained that 2-0 lead on the hustle on the back end from Learman, saving it off the line. But outside of that one near hiccup from Loudoun, it's been a workmanlike effort here in this second half for a young team trying to close out a game against one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, looking for some insurance so they can breathe a bit easier. They're still holding on to this 2-0 lead with just over 20 minutes remaining.
See, dude, so confident. 3 defenders around him. Just keeps possession. Much the same from Kasim.
Washington pokes it away from Martinez.
Oh, good turn.
Kasim dispossessed by Landry. And Landry, remember, is doing this all with a yellow card. So every challenge you've seen him go into the last 15 or so minutes, he's had to be extremely careful. Williamson answers it past to Siadu. Switches out wide for Santos, back on the right side now. Just a momentary, I believe, venture over to the left side.
This game is going back and forth now, and that'll favor Birmingham. They'll be okay with this game being a little bit crazy and not having the stop-start nature. Chaotic would be better for a team that's down. They want chances to go. Here's Loudoun on the break.
Zach Ryan can make it 3. Has 3 goals already this season. Looking for some help cutting in. Ryan off the post and in! His 4th goal in 3 games. And Loudoun is ahead by 3.
It is going all Loudoun United FC's way tonight. 3 goals to the good, and Zach Ryan, patient, probing, just waiting for the moment. And it's unfortunate for Kavita as he stretches to block the shot. It goes off the inside of his calf, off the inside of the post. And Zach Ryan shares the spoils, gives something for the Loudoun United fans to celebrate. 3 goals to the good and well on their way to potentially picking up 3 points.
The live table has them crawling up to 4th place now. Opened the season with a 3-1 win against Memphis, then a 1-1 draw against San Antonio. They've dropped the last 2 against Tulsa and Colorado Springs. And now everything turning up in their favor tonight against a Birmingham team who they knew would come in hungry. Talking to Ryan Martin about how he envisioned this game going, he said, look, we know 20, 30 minutes to start the game. We're going to get Birmingham's best shot. They're coming off of a loss against Phoenix. They're a veteran team who will look to respond well. Did not go that way at all. They jumped on Birmingham instead of Birmingham jumping on them, and they've ridden that to a 3-0 lead. All the way back to Farrow. Birmingham readying another change. Ziba Nwegbo is on his way in. Prosper Kasim will head over to the bench. And Nwegbo, another player who just signed before the season started. A couple of those guys came in the final week of preseason. And that's part of the reason why Birmingham believes they're still a ways away from reaching their full stride, whether it's injuries that have hurt them early in the season or so many of these guys who signed first 10 days or so of March. With the season having begun on March 11th, they're almost still at the back end of a quote-unquote preseason right now in terms of integrating everybody and getting on the same page. They believe May, June is where this team could really start to take off. Look at Ravino, you look at Colin Smith, look at Nwegbo, all guys who signed or were loaned here in the final few hours, really, before the season began. Expected goals are not an exact science. Coaches are starting to use that tool more and more as sort of guideline for how well you're doing in a match, and if you're finding your opportunities, finding your chances. Again, they don't always tell the whole story. Oh, look out, Landry. He's on a yellow already. Comes in on that challenge. Is Arroyo going to be lenient, or is he going to go ahead and give him the yellow? Right now his focus is on all the Birmingham players who have surrounded him, but for good reason. They want Landry sent off, and perhaps a lifeline. Down 3 with just over a quarter of an hour remaining.
Landry has to be smarter than to make this decision to go in for the challenge, because he's put his fate in this match in the referee Luis Arroyo's hands, and Arroyo has looked favorably upon Landry. That is unequivocally more of a yellow card than the first challenge in which he was booked.
Maybe that's the universe balancing out in a way. Birmingham
Probably
doesn't see it
yes.
that way.
Yeah, probably yes. However, the standard was set when the first yellow was brandished in the 50th minute. If that tackle from behind, in which he doesn't get any of the ball and he goes through Martinez, is not a yellow, then now the question becomes the inconsistency of the decision in which to give a yellow.
And he's going to have to deal with it as he goes over to the sideline here. Players taking the Ramadan fast break here as the sun goes down in Leesburg, Virginia. So this is, for Luis Arroyo, doesn't come at a great time for him. Has to come over and hear it from Tom Sohn, who is lacing into him right now.
No, but all the respect in the world, though, during Ramadan, from the respect being shown to come over, and if you're unfamiliar, from sunrise to sunset, during the month of Ramadan, Muslims fast for spiritual growth, and when it's sunset, they have iftar, which is the fast break. So these players go all day without nutrition, and then when the sunset happens, they're able to go and get that much needed nutrition, and it's a good sign of respect. And something that we're all better for, having this happen in this league, and the respect that's shown to religions across the world and right here in our own backyard. Well done from everyone involved.
Absolutely. Abdul Zane coming in now for Khalil Ahmedkar. And Ryan Martin mentioned that in our chat this week. They have a few players who celebrate, and that last week, all that they had was so good for them in a way to connect with family and friends during this time, and the players celebrating Easter during that bye week off. The recharge that happened in those few days has paid dividends here for Loudoun United. First league match after that 3 days off last Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And now they are out to a 3-0 lead as Abdul Zane checked in. All subs brought to you by Segra. And Zane sent right to the ground by Nwegbo. Two players who have just come on in the last few minutes. Zane keeps it in. Ryan takes it back and now finds the switch. Santos back for Learman. And now Rocha. Blasted by Learman. Out for a throw-in. Agudelo muscled off the ball by Learman. He's had an outstanding game, Yannis Learman, both defensively and the opportunity he had on a header off of a corner. Foul called this time against Kavita. Took down Williamson. Those two get into it a little bit. This is where the frustrations mount for a team trailing 3-0. Don't miss a minute of the action in 2023, whether your club is on the road or at home. Catch nearly every second of USL Championship on ESPN+. Home of the USL, MLS La Liga, Bundesliga, UFC, and more. Sign up today at plus.espn.com. And another foul has the Birmingham bench upset. No card shown. It was Landry involved again. At this point, if you're Ryan Martin, escaped the last challenge. This one was innocuous, just a little shove in the back, but at some point, You're tempting fate here the longer you keep Landry on the field. I thought he was going to come off when Rocha came in back earlier in the match. Instead, it was for the other defensive midfielder in Ramirez.
You're absolutely right. At this point, it's 3-0. You got to be able to think about the next match against Oakland Roots next weekend at home. Landry been instrumental today for his side, but he won't help his side out next week if he picks up a second booking. And any foul, you got to think at this point, you're as close to a second yellow as you could possibly be for a player.
Could see Jeremy Garay as an option off the bench for Loudoun. Over the top for Santos. Williamson bends his run. Cronali gets in the way of the cross.
You know, the fact that Landry doesn't pick up that second yellow, it has me wondering, immediately when he got the yellow in the 50th minute, you saw a couple players from Loudoun go over and speak to a referee, Luis Arroyo. Sometimes you can plant a seed of doubt.
You're never going to change the call that was made, but you might change the next one.
Exactly. That's exactly where I'm going with that. You start to say, the way this has gone, you haven't punished the other players on the other side. Our guy does it now. You've made a mistake in that moment. It's fine, you can't take it back now, but that's not a yellow if the other ones haven't been. And then in the back of the mind, is the referee, who's only human, is he thinking, maybe they were right? Maybe I was too harsh on the player this time? And then the next moment happens where he makes a late challenge on Enzo Martinez. And that little bit of doubt is still in the back of the mind that if this was a 50-50 decision, maybe he's looking favorably because earlier he was harsh in the initial yellow. But now at this point, he certainly let Landry off the hook. Any sort of good faith is gone. And Ryan Martin could protect Landry by getting him off the field.
Armanakis takes it down. Finds Zane. Abdul Zane fizzes one across the box. Cronali deflected it, almost given away by Kavita. Initially, Asiadu wasn't looking as Rocha came in. Agudelo looking for it now on a missed touch, and he draws the foul. And that's a yellow card to Rocha. Garay and Coanda all ready to sub in now for Loudoun. First player coming off is Armanakis.
A yellow card has been issued in the 81st minute to Loudoun United's number 4, Aiden Rocha.
Zach Ryan was starting toward the bench. And it will be Landry coming off for Coanda. It had to be coming.
Smart decision.
At that point, it would have been malpractice from Ryan Martin to not bring him off.
He's too smart of a coach for that.
So now all three players for Loudoun United, as these substitutions are brought to you by Segra, all three players who they found from the Ivory Coast at ASEC Mimosas are on the field. That was the same club that produced the Torres, Solomon Kalou in Ivory Coast. Ryan Martin went on a trip there himself 2 years ago. A trip he took with a couple of other staff members, spent a few weeks out there just touring, watching different games, different clubs, and all three of those guys came back, not necessarily with him on the same flight, but he saw those three names and wanted to go out and get those three names. DC United obliged, and after the quasi-split this year between DC United and Loudoun United, all three of those players ended up sticking around with Loudoun United. He believes very highly in all three of them. We've seen Samake out there manning the left back position all game long, and then Abdul Coanda and Abdul Zane both sub in. Stumbled by Coanda. There's four players actually from Ivory Coast, the other being Landry, just not part of that same club. So all four of those players on that discovery trip from Ryan Martin.
Well, it also helps the acclimation too, going and playing abroad, but having people that you can relate to from back home, that makes the acclimation period accelerate. And you can really start to see Ryan Martin leaving no stone unturned, scouring the earth, trying to find some great players. And that's one of the beauties of Loudoun, is they do provide opportunities for players. And while the mindset has shifted this year under the new ownership, and I think shifted towards the betterment for the club, the betterment for results, there's still the ethos of wanting to develop and make players better on the field and also off the field. And Ryan Martin made no mistake about that, that it's a 90-minute game, but you also have the other 22.5 hours of the day to make sure that they're good people as well as good players.
He had a heck of an offseason, not this past offseason, but the one prior. He was in, I believe, Ireland. It's been a while since we had this conversation, Ryan Martin and I. I believe it was Ireland, 3 or 4 weeks to complete the remainder of his coaching licenses. Then he was in Ivory Coast. He said family wasn't too happy that he was gone for that long, but it was nice to sort of get away from just the grueling day in, day out of the club and sort of see what else was out there the world had to offer in different parts of the globe.
And he did all of that management last season with the lowest budget in the league. It's quite remarkable, the turnaround last year, 8, 22, and 4. And while they're a few minutes and change away from picking up their second win of the season in their first 5 games, and this is a big 3 points for them tonight. And more importantly, the manner in which they won. They were getting good performances but not getting results. Now they match the good performance with the good result in convincing fashion tonight.
We get a chance to chat with all the head coaches ahead of every matchup we have throughout the season. And the last couple of weeks, the question has popped up in some of these chats just to have the coaches talk a bit about the parity that we're seeing in the league this year. And with so many of the MLS 2 sides shifting over to Next Pro and teams that were previously quote-unquote MLS 2 sides in Loudoun and Las Vegas, who were the LAFC 2 side last year, they have separated. They have gone out, signed older, true professional players. There are no pushovers in this league anymore. It's been a theme from all the coaches. Have to pick up points when you can. You cannot point to any game on the season and say, yeah, that should be 3 points, where last year you could, as it's taken ahead by Asiadu and saved by Farrell. There's none of that this season. Sure, as the year goes along, maybe you run into a team at a good time and they're missing some players due to international duty or injuries, and a game that might have been a difficult one turns into a layup, but that is not going to be one anymore where you say, oh, it's Red Bulls 2, there's 3 points. Oh, it's Loudoun, there's another at least 1 in the bag. Not anymore. Good takeaway by Abdulzadeh. Can they find the exclamation point here? Looking across to Abdul Kawanda and cleared. Louisville is kicked off against San Antonio. You can catch them on ESPN2 Saturday, May 13th at 7 Eastern as they take on Paco Craig on Miami FC. Josh Winder leading reigning Eastern Conference champions Louisville. Again, that's May 13th on ESPN2, 7 Eastern, week after the running of the Kentucky Derby. All eyes will once again descend on that neck of the woods. Brought down by Rocha, pressured by Roof. This is going to feel really good for those players in that Loudoun locker room after the game, barring a complete calamity here in the final few minutes. Young team learning how to win games. This will help too if they could find a 4th. Santos centers it. Williamson missed it. It's still alive here. Williamson looking for it. Would have been better suited to leave that for Garay, but no way to know he was behind him unless Garay gave him a shout. In Wegbo. Gets past Samake. Runs right into him with the shoulder. Still in Wegbo. And cleared by Learman. Roof to Martinez, who has been largely invisible since coming on at the half. Martinez, handball. Thought was going to be called there against Birmingham. Came right up off the hand.
That absolutely did. Oh, not the place for that.
Zach Ryan gives it to Enzo Martinez. In front now for Nico Brett. And they get away with it. That's where, for a young team, maybe you have to still learn a few things. Just because it's 3-0 doesn't mean you could necessarily do what Zach Ryan just did.
Right, that's not the place. There's a time and place for everything, and that being in the middle part of the field, not knowing what's around you, trying to backheel like that, could have led to disaster as Birmingham. It just sort of sums up the night, doesn't it, right? They get a half look at something decent, and the ball just won't sit for him. It just pops up on Nico Brett, and he's trying to take touch after touch to be able to get it into a position to shoot, or even find Agudelo, who was behind him, wide open, but it just isn't going the way for Birmingham tonight.
It would have especially been the stand on what has otherwise been a terrific day defensively for Loudoun. That was a talking point for Ryan Martin. So far this year, he's felt it's just been a couple of momentary lapses defensively. For, again, a young team, we keep hammering that point. It's older than it was last year, but the back line coming into the day, 23, 24, 24, 25. As it's over the top now to Agudelo. Looking to center, it's saved by Ferreau, keeping that clean sheet, which was the point Ryan Martin made. They want to finally get a clean sheet, and they are playing with fire here at the end, in danger of blowing that clean sheet, but they keep it again still by the skin of their teeth.
This ball into Agudelo is tremendous, but he doesn't play the first one across with his left foot. And as soon as he hesitates, the moment is gone. Ferreau does a great job of coming out, doing a really good job of getting his left hand on the second touch from Agudelo.
From the corner, Bernali has it centrally, loose for Kavita, falls for a volley by Asiyadu over the bar.
Just not the night for Birmingham in the final third. Too many missed opportunities.
That was their 5th shot of the night. 2 of them on target. 17 and 6 in those categories for Loudoun.
And when I say too many missed opportunities, it's more or less back to the point with Agudelo. The opportunity was there. Squared across to Brett, and it's a tap in. Yes, it's 3-1 in the 88th minute at that point. Having said that, though, that gets you back into it, or at least grabs you some consolation from this match, but the decision-making on the final ball and the final pass is really what's hurt Birmingham tonight.
Nice flick on by Martinez, all the way back for Ferreau. Into stoppage time now, 5 minutes tacked on to the end of this one. Stoppage time brought to you by Novak, delivering power you can count on.
5 minutes. Brought to you by Novak, delivering power you can count on.
Played through for Williamson, saved by Spangenberg. This is where you get into the competitive nature of some of these players. Leggett got one, started over Williamson. Can Williamson get one now to his own tally? Denied by Spangenberg.
Gonna get another wonderful ball in. That is a tremendous ball through that. Breaks the line of Williamson. Decisive in his decision-making. First touch out of his feet. Takes it on the half turn. And that's a really good strike. Spangenberg had to be alert to it, touch it around. Ooh, that should be a false corner, yep. So what just happened there, Zane has taken the touch, and then he put his foot on it after it left the circle, took a second touch. And the rule is once you take one touch, you can't be the next player to touch it a second. So, free kick. Just a young mistake there from the 20-year-old.
Tried to hide it.
He tried to do the clever. I'm just putting it back into the corner. Our referee was alert to it.
Ahead from Rovino to Nwegbo, 2 substitutes here in the second half. Nwegbo, good ball to the penalty spot, falls for Martinez. Enzo's first touch, popped it up in the air. And any chance he had at striking that first time. Here's Ryan. What a ball. Tommy Williamson, equally good first touch, takes him into the box now. Williamson, stopped by Spangenberg.
Williamson has looked bright since he's come on. He's been involved. He's created some good opportunities, and he took his first touch ever so well. And just does a good job of just continuing to fight off the pressure to be able to get the effort off. Rovino's all over him. Williamson using his right arm, keeping the ball on his left side because Rovino has to let him go. He can't lunge at it. So he's holding off the defender and trying to get his balance to get enough strength behind the shot. That is incredibly difficult.
Elsewhere, in the 90th minute, Charleston 2, Tulsa 1. That has been unchanged since we last updated you about 40 minutes ago. And the other matches that are inching closer to halftime, it is scoreless everywhere. Scoreless in first half stoppage time between Miami and Detroit. Scoreless at halftime between Pittsburgh and RGV. And scoreless in the 20th minute between Louisville and San Antonio. Ferro just barely kept that in the box. So all the goal scoring so far concentrated to your 6 p.m. kickoffs. And those all about to meet their conclusion.
Ferro just having a word as he was lunging to get that and then under control to be able to keep the ball inside of the box.
A card issued in the direction of Zach Ryan. Must have been something he said in that case.
A yellow card has been issued in the 84th minute to Loudoun United's number 28.
That's
Zach
a silly one
Ryan.
to take. It won't have any real impact on today's game, but when you start thinking about over the course of the season and the card accumulation, you don't need to take one up 3-0 in the 94th minute for something you say. Just keep it to yourself in that moment. The captain of the team has to know in this moment it's not worth it.
One last chance to window address this a bit for Birmingham. Thought they would respond better than they have after the loss. Martinez to Nwegbo. Down again by Martinez. Roof hits one. Samake will keep that in. 5 minutes of stoppage time have come and gone. Glance at the watch from Luis Arroyo. That'll do it from Leesburg. Emphatic victory for Loudoun United. This is not any of the last few years where you've seen Loudoun struggle. This is a new team with a new attitude who believes the playoffs are in the cards this season, and a 3-0 win over one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference in Birmingham is a way to show that.
A complete performance from Loudoun. 3-0, it tells the story of the night. They were the better team from start to finish. Dominant possession, took their opportunities, got a good defensive play whenever they needed it, when the game was in balance in the second half, and then they saw it out, get the deserved shutout.
Could have been very different if this play went a little bit differently. Save of the game brought to you by Segra. Does it get any closer than this? Maybe it was in, maybe it wasn't. Like how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop, we'll never know. It wasn't called, and that's it.
Giannis Learman does ever so well. There's the freeze, and we're talking about millimeters. The difference between this going 2-1 in that moment. Nico Brett thought he had cut it to 2-1. That is an excellent look from our crew. It's hard to tell if it went in or not. It was deemed to be not over the line completely, and that's where the game was in balance. 2-0 at that moment. It goes 3-0, and a very, very good, impressive 3 points for Loudoun United FC.
Big win for this Loudoun side on their home turf. And we'll be back in just a moment to wrap this one up from Segra Field.
will see you
Hayes
next time.
starting to leave the field here. Plenty of cause for celebration to light those smoke bombs for the supporters today for Loudoun United. 3-0 victory over Birmingham Legion as we get set to take a look at the full-time highlights. It's mostly one-sided. 19-7 in the shots for Loudoun. They had chance after chance and it started early.
It did. Leggett had an opportunity to score in a 1v1. He doesn't take it, but persistence pays off. This time the ball gets played through. A miss hit from Ryan goes to Santos. One touch out of his feet. And Leggett falling backwards, leaping backwards, makes no mistake about it. Give credit to Elmedkar, who beat Spangenberg to the initial one. Just watch and appreciate this for athleticism. Understanding angles, gets it spot on, 1-0, and then 10 minutes later, Khalil Elmedkar, nobody goes to it, in a pocket of space that nobody converges from on Birmingham. Elmedkar doesn't need a second invitation, gets the wrong side of Asiadu, and then puts it into the corner, makes it 2-0.
And then from there was an opportunity early in the second half. We showed it to you, that freeze frame run of the line for Birmingham. It came the other way instead. 69th minute, Zach Ryan works his magic again.
Zach Ryan does what Zach Ryan does. Patient, does a good job of getting Kavita to stretch the legs out. And look, it's fortunate in nature, but it's nothing less than they deserve. And it's 3-0 to the good. Every bit as convincing as those stats allude to.
Best 45 minutes you said in the first half for Loudoun. Was that the best 90 minutes they played this season?
Undoubtedly. From start to finish, they were the better team today. They deserve all 3 points. They deserve all the plaudits. It was a great performance, and I'm interested to see the rebound from Birmingham next week away at Orange County SC.
Tough one next Saturday on the road for Loudoun. They have an extra day off. They are home against Oakland next Sunday to see if they can turn this into a little bit of a winning streak. Plenty of reasons to celebrate tonight for the fans in Leesburg. It was a fun one for Loudoun United, a 3-0 victory over Birmingham Legion, and that'll do it for us tonight from Segra Field. For the crew that makes this possible, and my broadcast partner, Jamie Watson, I'm Joe Malfa saying good night from Segra Field. Plenty more action to come tonight in USL Championship. Loudoun takes this one 3-0.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.